I'm a human being. Can I be a human being?
Are y'all keeping that clip?
They're going to keep it. They're going to blooper it out.
Okay.
I promise you they'll blooper it
Okay.
out. Hi, welcome to another episode of Eating While Broke. I'm your host, Coline Witt, and today we have podcaster, film producer, and actor, and retired rapper, but we'll go back to host and producer of Holding Court.
Yeah.
Is in the building. And what do you have us eating today?
Today I'm eating spicy chicken and French fries.
Yes. And this isn't made at all because you told me a million times, I don't cook.
I don't cook. I don't know how to cook.
And I said, surely you got to cook something. And then I think you said egg whites.
Egg whites, yeah.
And I said, I hate egg whites.
Yeah, it's like eating a napkin.
It is terrible. I mean, I think even they sell egg whites in a jar now or like a carton.
It's in a carton.
It's terrible.
Really?
I've never liked egg whites.
You don't like eating healthy?
Actually, that is also true. That is also true. I actually do not like eating healthy. That is 100% fact.
Yeah.
But I don't like fast food anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I did a lot of eating out, and I ate out so much. But if you've ever taken a break from eating out and then go back to it, it just doesn't hit your body the same.
No, you're right. Especially if you get like McDonald's or some like I don't even call it Taco Bell. I call it Boo Boo Bell. Because if you're going to get it, you better make sure you're at home or somewhere close that you're comfortable with doing your business. But this was my meal of choice, coming up through the ranks when I was a kid, I think, of course, inflation. I think, I used to you could get a meal like this $3-4 back then.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. So I, of course, do the runs to get the food for everybody. I'm very hands-on over here. I'm like a dishwasher, food picker-upper, interviewer, researcher. Just in case you guys think I'm like bigger than life, the reality check is it's not that. But when I went to buy these like spicy chicken meals, they was like $24. I said, $24?
Damn.
I said, are you sure? Did you get the guy behind me order? And she was like, no, you got 2 spicy chicken meals. And I said, and I was driving back to the studio and all I could think was like, I thought a spicy chicken sandwich was like 99 cents.
That used to be.
They
about
used
20
to
years
be.
ago, 25 years ago.
It wasn't 20 years ago.
It was. It was. Because I used to eat this shit in the 90s.
You are right.
Yeah.
You are totally right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to, when I had my first business, like fast food, Del Taco, McDonald's. I mean, those guys were like my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, you could search your car for like 50 cents here, 25 cents, piece together $1 and be like, I got dinner for the night.
Right.
And then you got creative. If you ate, a double cheeseburger for $1, you'd be like, you know what? Throw some Big Mac sauce on that. You know what I'm saying? You started getting creative with
secret sauce. Yeah.
You was like
y'all got
your
Captain
own.
D's out here?
No.
Oh, okay. That's some Kansas City shit.
Yeah, you. By the way, you're from Kansas.
No.
Kansas City. Kansas.
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City. I didn't even get the whole sentence out.
No, you saying Kansas.
Kansas City.
You said Kansas, so you're from Kansas.
Kansas
Because most people
City,
say Kansas.
Missouri.
Kansas. So let me.
It's okay. I didn't even know where either of those things are.
Don't say that. See, they gonna be in your comments.
When I think of
they
Kansas,
gonna be in your comments.
when I think of Kansas, I think of Dorothy.
Ooh, they gonna get you in the comments. So most people don't know. There's 2 different Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri are 2 different states and cities. So Kansas City, Kansas is 913. Kansas City, Missouri is 816. Okay. So when you being from Kansas City, Missouri, them are fighting words.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
So which one is Dorothy from?
That's the Kansas shit. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to Kansas because we still rock with Kansas. But Kansas City, Missouri is a major city. Like they call it Killer City. You know what I mean? So it's a major city. But yeah, them fighting words. When motherfuckers from Kansas City travel and you go somewhere and people be like, yeah, so you from Kansas? Like they be ready to go in.
So why don't people just say Missouri then?
Well, because Kansas City, Missouri is, Missouri's big. You got St. Louis, you got Springfield, you got Columbia, you got a lot of different cities.
I'm learning a lot about geography.
For sure.
Let's try this sandwich so I can dig up all your dirt. Because you're like a cat. You have so many lives.
I do. I do.
All right, here we go. You
A lot of
removed your
people praying
lettuce.
on me. Yeah, I don't want that.
You don't want the lettuce. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Judging is it spicy chicken?
A little bit. Not really. We gonna trade if it ain't right though. I'm gonna have to eat after you. Hope you ain't got COVID or nothing. This the spicy one right here.
I think this has a little spice to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I asked for a non-spicy. This has spice in it.
Mm-hmm. So you were right.
It's not that bad.
You said too spicy. You said they were both spicy.
Yeah. This is pretty good. I'm
gonna have heartburn later, but it's all good.
I thought it was gonna be like a little spicy, like a little kick. That's a real kick.
You know what? It depends. You know, because sometimes it won't be, then sometimes it'll be fire. Like
That's a little kick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you got to do? For all y'all listeners, you don't like spicy. The greatest thing you could probably do is probably add some ranch to it to drown it, right?
That don't work.
Watch it. Watch it work. I'm surprised. So I did some digging on you.
You did?
You've been to jail. I'm surprised I didn't get like the homie spread from you.
No. I haven't been to like prison or nothing like that.
Oh, you went to like the luxury
juvie?
No,
no, I haven't. You know, listen, by God's grace, I was in jail at 15. So I was in juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, you know, I was the typical recalcitrant teenager back then, you know, going through my thug shit and my gangster shit. And, yeah, I went to jail at 15. They were going to certify me as an adult. Basically keep me in and give me what they call.
What did you go to jail for?
Attempted murder, shooting into an occupied dwelling, armed criminal action, and burglary and robbery. I robbed a gun store.
What did your mom say?
Well, she knew it was coming.
But did she get the call from jail and was like, I'm leaving you there? Or she
No.
tried to get the bail money?
No, in juvenile, it wasn't like that.
Oh.
In juvenile, there is no bail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you say that in terms of getting out.
Mm-hmm.
When I went up for my hearing, I remember not understanding the severity of the charges.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to court, and I was kind of like, okay, so when I'm going to go home?
Mm-hmm.
And the judge told me, he said, home? He was like, man, you can take that out your vocabulary. He was like, you ain't going home. So
once you got locked up, you didn't get to go.
No, they were going to certify me, which means this was like 1990, 91. So at that time in Missouri, they were trying to figure out how to deal with and sentence juveniles that commit adult crimes. So they wanted to keep me, give me what they call juvenile life, which keep you in juvenile till you're old enough to go to prison and serve out the rest of your sentence.
But your attempted murder was kind of by accident, right? Because you were shooting into a building?
It was all separate charges.
Okay, but
shooting into an occupied dwelling, that was another incident. The attempted murder was something different.
Oh, should I have security?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're safe
any other things we should know about?
You're safe with me. No, but this is, you know.
You weren't scared at all? Like, you didn't hear about, like, you know, like when I was a kid growing up, you heard about, like, how do I say this without getting murdered in today's world? I'm going to get murdered for this statement.
What is it?
Like, when I was a kid growing up, you heard about, like, don't drop the soap, booty raping, you know, all that stuff. Okay. You know what I'm saying? No. Like, there was no part of you that's like, oh, shoot.
No, that never even crossed my mind. But, you know, I think it's just growing up in the environment. And then you have this youthful ignorance. You don't ever think it's going to happen. You don't ever think you'll get caught. You know what I mean? Like, you have this thing where you think you're invincible when you're young like that. You don't ever think it'll happen to you, you know? So, yeah, you know, we were just thrill seeking, to be honest with you, because I grew up, I had a good childhood. I didn't necessarily need to be doing the things that I was doing.
So would you say it was like your friends, your influence, your environment? Was it rap music?
No, it wasn't rap music. I could say, well, it's layered, at least for me, you know, because you got to think it's systematic. So what happens is I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. So, you know, with the emergence of crack cocaine, with the emergence of the gang culture, you know, now the environment becomes hostile. So now a lot of guys won't admit this, but this is the truth. At some point when you kind of coming through the ranks, you know, you're fearful. You don't want to be victimized. Like you're seeing your friends get robbed for Jordans, robbed for their coats, robbed for whatever. So you say to yourself, because you're scared, you're like, shit, that ain't gonna happen to me. So 13, 14 years old, you tool up. You get you a gun or something. And then what ends up happening is you end up kind of start to perpetuate that same shit that you were fearful of. You now become part of the problem. So it was more environment. I like to tell people I was
So like you're saying that you become the monster instead of the victim?
Exactly, because you don't want to be victimized.
That's interesting.
Because you don't want to be victimized. Because you start to see the adoration that comes with being like that. When you beat somebody up, you shoot at somebody, you do some perceivingly gangster shit, some ignorant shit, then you see the adulation that comes with that. You know, people like, oh shit, he cool. Oh man, he. You know, and you start leaning into that. And then before you know it, you become that motherfucker you were scared of. Like, damn, I'm just like him now.
So at what point did you, I'm going to say, get chin checked to the point where you turned your life around?
Well, you know, I'm not going to say, I stopped doing crash out shit once I got,
What's crash out?
Crash out shit is really just shit where you know you're gonna fail. It's not for no money. There's no end game. It's just ignorant shit. You know what I mean? Excuse me, shooting at people, not getting paid for it. You know what I mean? Doing roguish shit, breaking into shit, just being roguish.
So like you and your homies are like bored and you're like, what can we do today? Oh, we'll just like shoot up some people. And you're like, no,
I'm not. No, it's not that. Because again, you still have these influences. Again, you can't forget that I said now the environment is hostile. So we hit the gun store for a reason. We hit the gun store because we felt like we needed protection.
Yeah.
You know, so we were young, we're kids. Yeah. We not selling dope, so we don't have the money to buy them. You know, so we figured we could steal them, which we did successfully. You know, well, at least in that moment. And so now I'm in an environment, I feel protected, I feel strong, because now I got these guns.
Yeah.
You know, and so when you're carrying guns and you have that attitude and you're in the environment, it's a recipe for disaster. You know?
Yeah.
So at some point, when you campaigning with that energy, motherfucker, you're going to run into a motherfucker that's going to give you everything you're looking for.
Yeah.
And now you got to either perform or not, you know. Yeah. And usually if you perform, at some point, you get caught up.
Wow. So at what point do you hit the next chapter?
Well, I was done crashing out. Once I got out of that situation, you know,
was that the pivotal point where you said no more crashing out?
No more crashing out, not no more crime. It's a difference, right? So no more crashing out. Plus, I had a child on the way. So I had my first child at 16. So my sense of urgency and trying to figure it out was a little bit different. You know what I mean? I didn't like being locked up. That just ain't my shit. I wasn't a born to lose ass dude. Plus, you know, I was raised on love. I'm an only child. I wasn't raised on survival. So, you know, I was making these decisions just, again, like I say, I was a follower of a destructive culture, not a follower of an individual or music or anything like that. So I knew better, you know what I mean? So I come from good stock, but just, again, making bad decisions. But I say, I don't think that moment came to my 20s. Maybe that you're asking me.
But I think it's interesting. I've never heard someone say I was a follower of destructive culture. I think that's actually the world we continually like live in to this date. Yeah. But I think that's interesting. I've never heard someone say that.
Well, that was my reality because I was always a leader. Even though I was the youngest person on my case, I've always been the runt, the young, because I hung around older people. But I was always mature and I was always smart. So no one ever influenced me or told me or put me on a mission to do anything. I usually thought of it myself.
Okay.
You know, but again, it's the culture. You know, this is what we're programmed. We programmed to be destructive. We're programmed to not give a fuck. We're programmed to suppress emotion and all of that shit, which, of course, those ripple effects you have to kind of undo as you get older and you become civilized, but, you know.
So you got rid of I would say, like, the crash culture, but then you continued on to crime. Was that because of survival at that point? Because you have a baby? And what kind of crime are we talking?
Well, the stuff that I can say, I mean, again, now I start hustling. You know, I start getting into having a plan, not just going to jail just to be going to jail. But I also was doing music at that time. So I graduated from high school at 17 in 94. I got my first record deal in 95 when I signed with No Limit, but I was still in the street too. So yes, it's my sense of urgency of having a child, of
How did you cross paths with No Limit though?
hustling, man. Just, you know, I was a mature youngin', you know, but I was making demo tapes and I just sent them to all the record companies, and because I was gonna go to Ruthless actually, but Easy died that March of 95. So all the communication with Easy ceased, obviously, with Ruthless. And so then I put my sights on everybody else, but Pete was just the one to call back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was your first interaction with P?
Excuse me. It's funny, right? So I'm living with my dad at the time because when I went to jail, the state took me from my mom, made me live with my dad, put me on house arrest. So I was on house arrest for like a year and a half. Hated it. So I met my dad. Now I'm named after my father.
Just a quick question: when you're on house arrest, are you actually stuck in the house?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you
I
can't,
could
like
go-
you
no,
can't go to the mailbox.
No.
Or?
So listen, the funny thing about it was I used to look forward to going to cut the grass, right? Because I could go outside. But there was a part of the yard I couldn't go past. So I used to have to put a rope on the thing and like do it, because if I did it, then it would send a signal and then the police would come.
Wow. Okay.
So
I always wondered what the house arrest.
yeah, you can go outside. Yeah, you can go out. It's just you can't go a certain amount of feet from the thing that used
So
to
if you
cook.
wanted to go to like get McDonald's or
Fuck no, you can't do that. Your ass gonna go to jail.
Got it.
So,
Dang, and as a teenager too.
Yeah.
So how'd you go to school?
They would allow me to go to school, but I had a certain time to be back home.
So it was like the bell rang. I got 20 minutes to.
Man, like, oh, if it was traffic, I'd be telling the bus driver, man, you gotta go, bro. You gotta go. I gotta get home. Like, yeah.
Okay.
But the bus driver, he knew. They knew, so they would kind of make concessions for me to get home. But so I'm sitting on the toilet stool. True story. I'm sitting on the toilet stool. And phone rings. Now, this is back in the day. There's no cell phones. This is answering machine shit,
Oh,
right?
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, so...
Did they even have caller ID at that point? No, right?
Yeah, it was caller ID.
Okay.
It was caller ID. And so the phone rings, and I'm like, I'm at home by myself. So I'm like, okay, I get up, I waddle to the fucking phone, right? This is a true story.
Okay.
Pants at my ankles. I answer the phone, and he's like, can I speak to Courtney? Now, I'm named after my father. I'm the second. So I didn't recognize the voice. Ain't none of my homeboys. So I'm like, shit, he ain't here. So he was like, all right. He was like, well, tell him Master P called. And I was like, who is this? He was like, yeah, this P. And I was like, whatever. No, it ain't. And he was like, nah. He was like, this P. He said, this Court, right? He said, you sent the tape. I got it. So I was like, yeah. I was like, man, it was unbelievable, right? So P was like, I don't think he realized how young I was, because he was like, what, you dodging somebody? Like you on the run or something like that? So I'm like, nah, but I didn't tell him, like, actually I'm on house arrest, but you know what I mean? So we end up talking, and he liked the tape that I sent him at the time. And it was just me being consistent. It was me being consistent, because back in the day when you had the CD and the tape, you had the address and the number on the back.
Yeah.
I just called and filled his voicemail up, all of them. I just bugged them to death. You know
Oh, wow.
what I mean? Yeah, I just bugged everybody to death.
Okay.
So, and so we wound up, I was a part of a group called CCG with my partner Cisco. So he flew us out to, at this time he was still in the Bay Area. So he flew us out. We did Down South Hustlers. That was my first gold
But how
record.
did you do that while you were on house arrest?
They let me go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you end up telling P you were on house arrest?
Yeah, because he had to advocate for me. Like he had to send paperwork and let him know what I was doing. Because juvenile court kind of works like family court. You know what I mean? So it was doing something.
And you were
positive.
you were a young kid.
Yeah. So.
And that's cool that Master P.
And I was
just
actually
cool
getting off of house arrest. I was because I think. Yeah, I was, because when we went out there the first time, when we came back, I was off. I was coming off. So yeah.
Okay. Good. And you and Master P still have a great relationship.
Yep, that's my brother. Yeah, 26 years.
Do you look at him as a brother or a mentor?
Both. Both. I'm an only child, so of course, naturally, he's always been like big brother, and that's the nature of our relationship. But listen, I don't ever take for granted who he is and what he's accomplished and my access to him. So I would say both. Yeah, it's both.
Okay. So, did Master P have any words of advice for like how you were living your life, as far as like
Of
hustling?
course, yeah,
Because he
yeah.
seems like one of those dudes that aren't like.
Yeah. Well, no, back then P was a gangster too. So back
Okay.
then he understood what it was. We wasn't too far, you know. He was
Okay.
just older than me, you
Mhm.
know. But no, P was a gangster, so he understood. But as I would say, probably when I moved here to LA, when I moved here to LA and we started doing different things, he made it plain and apparent, like, bruh, if you gonna be working with me and fucking with me on shit, you can't have one foot in, one foot out. Like you gotta be doing this. So
And did you have enough money to give up the crime?
yeah, when I moved out here, yes, I was blessed, man. Like when I moved out here 20 years ago. I got an interesting journey, you know, because I had music. I was doing music. I put out independent records as well, but I also started buying real estate when I was young
Mm-hmm.
because I had hustle money. I had dope money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew nothing about real estate. I just saw the older niggas in my hood buying houses, right? And I just figured I would start buying houses in case I went to jail. It was my plan in case I went to jail, I would have something to help get me out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
You had a plan for your jail.
I had a plan for jail.
That's-
Yeah, real shit.
That's
Yeah.
everything you say is very interesting because you're coming from this mindset of this. I hate it's like a very toxic environment, and you know you had your mom and your dad in your life that like definitely.
Well, I didn't grow
loved
up with
and
my
co-
dad. I
But
didn't grow
but
up
they
with my dad.
they well your mom
Yeah,
you
my
know
mom.
loved on you,
Yes, for sure.
but it's like it's interesting because you're like a product of your environment, survival of your environment, and like your mindset was still planning to how to survive
Yes.
jail. It
Yeah,
was like the
yeah.
goal wasn't like how to take over the world. It was
It wasn't necessarily to go to jail. It was just covering that base. I always had a plan to be successful, but it was just I understood that
You-
okay, the chances of
yeah.
me going to jail is there, right? So I started, and I'm saying this because I bought a house, and then I bought another. The first house I bought was $17,000. Right, I put another like 15,000 into it, and I remember standing in front. I'm like 19 years old, and I remember standing in front of it like, damn, okay, I can rent this shit out for $600 a month. It's gonna take me forever to get my money back. But the drug I hustled back in the day was weed. It's legal now, but back then it wasn't that,
Yeah.
right? So, but it's not like I made a lot of money with weed, but I did it in volume. So because if I'm getting 500-600 pounds at that time, you know, I may only be making $200 off each one, but it was volume where I was getting my money. So it went off. It's like, damn, this shit is volume. So if I get 10 of these, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the residual income. Now, mind you, I don't have this language at 19,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But this is just my common sense. So that coupled
And
with
you were buying these houses cash.
cash, yep, I was buying them cash. And so that coupled with I was putting out independent records too, where P, as a mentor, big brother, I was putting my independent shit out. He was making sure, using his influence, where Southwest and Selecto, some of these distributors would pay me up front for my CDs.
Oh, okay.
So if I got that 30,000 units pressed up, I'm getting $7 a CD. You know.
$7 a CD, which
Yeah.
is unheard of.
No,
It's impossible now.
Yeah, it's impossible now, but no, this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the norm back then for
Yeah.
independent. When
Independent with a
all the
distribution
people
deal.
from the '90s, they know what I'm talking about. When you're dealing with City Hall, Selecto, Southwest, Gonzalez, all of that. So I had that working along with the hustle. So when I moved to Cali, I was good. I was in a good position.
Okay. Awesome. And what age were you then?
I was 26 when I moved to Cali.
Okay. I'm trying to do the math.
Yeah, I was 26.
There should be like a little calculation. This date he graduated high school.
Yeah, I was 26. And this is why I tell people sometimes, you know, it's just half the battle is showing up, right? Most people don't even show up and try. Like, I didn't know what I was doing in the real estate, which I end up building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. I end up creating a property management company. And I'm not formally educated in any of this shit. I graduated high school barely, right? Not because I wasn't smart, but because of my legal shit and just fucking up. But and all I did was start. I knew nothing about like leveraging. I didn't even know what equity was. I didn't know none of that shit. You know?
So at what point did you're buying all this real estate. At what point does someone come along and say, you know, you can do this with this property?
Exactly. Yeah. What it was is it was a lady from a local credit union there that I do have a half brother that I met once I got grown, and he was already successful, a successful real estate investor. So he put me with her, and I remember the first conversation we had. She was like, I think I had owned like 15 properties, and she was like, "You got 15 properties?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, I was like 23. She was like, "Free and clear?" I was like, "Yeah." You know, like how the fuck else I'm gonna have them? I didn't know about credit.
You didn't have no loans.
I didn't have no credit, no
this
nothing.
This dude had
right?
assets and didn't even know what they were worth.
Asset?
Really,
what the fuck is that? I didn't know
what that was. He was like,
what
all
that
I know is I get about
That's it.
$4,000 a month from these 15 properties.
There it is.
And she's like,
That's
what's
all
the address?
I knew. That's all I knew. So she was like, she was impressed, and she was like, "Do you know what you have?" And I was like, "Yep, this is what you said. I'm getting like $5,000 a month. Like, shit, I'm good, right?"
Yeah.
So I say probably in about 3 months, later, she gave me a line of credit over those properties for like $800,000. And then that's when the light bulb went out, like, oh shit, that's how this works? I was like, oh shit, okay, let's repeat now. You know what I mean? And so that's what opened up my eyes to that part of the game, you know what I mean? And so when I moved, you know, the property management thing came in just by accident, you know, just because me being from somewhere else, and I would run into investors, and because I travel a lot, and they would have properties in Kansas City too, and they'd be like, "Man, you got a good HVAC guy, you got this guy," and I'm like, "I'm from there, so yeah." So then it dawned on me, like, you know what? How many properties you got?
And what is your mama saying while all this is going on?
My mom was proud. My mom, but I had a cool mom, man. See, I'm my only child, so it was always just me and my mama. So even when I was doing my criminal shit, my mama knew what it was. Like, my mama knew I was carrying guns. She knew all of that shit.
But I'm just curious what that conversation between you and her were like.
In terms of?
Oh, my son's carrying a gun.
She right there with me. She know what it is. She want me to be safe. She'd rather me get caught with a gun than get a call that I'm dead. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, you know, she it was a reality.
Does she get
thing.
on the house hustle with you at some point and say, wow, this is great?
No. My mother worked in the medical field.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a technician.
She wasn't curious, like, my son owns 15. Did she know you own the 15 houses?
I bought her house. I gave her one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
at a young age, too?
Yeah, my mother actually passed away in the house that I bought her and gave to her.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. So you're doing music. At some point, you decide to retire from music. Why?
Yeah. You know, I think I was always a little older than what people thought, you know, just like now, right? And I had been doing it for so long up until the early 2000s. And I just started to see, you know, you got to know when it's time to pivot and do something different. You know, the sound started changing, the culture started shifting, and I started seeing success in other arenas, you know, which when I moved to LA, I started, I transitioned into getting into film, produced, like my first movie I produced was with me and Cat Williams and Lawrence Hill Jacobs. I spent like $250,000 of my own money on it, right? So, you know, I just started having affections doing different things, and I was outgrowing that, you know, because I started at like 12 years old. So by the time I retired, I'm like 26, 27, you know, I've been doing it. And I felt like, you remember the movie Pulp Fiction?
I do. I saw it when I wasn't allowed to see it.
Okay. Do you remember when
I was too young to see it. My dad walked us right in there. They're like, "Sir, your 3 kids aren't old." I'm their dad. They're going to see Pulp Fiction.
It's one, and you know, Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite filmmakers, and there's a part in there where Ving Rhames says to Bruce Willis's character, he say, you know, if you were gonna make it, you would have made it by now. You know, so that was the conversation I had with myself at 26, 27. I'm like, I've had some success, some independent success, but you know, if I was going to be Lil Wayne or whatever the case may be, that shit would have happened by now. Because back then it was different.
I wish more aspiring rappers had that conversation.
Now,
Shout outs to everyone that sells CDs on Hollywood Boulevard in 2022. That is a conversation you should have with yourself.
This is true. And you know, again, I had some success. I'm just saying, you know, I wasn't Lil Wayne, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and you got to understand, it's different too, because see, back then when your ass was knocking on 30, you was old. It's a little different now, you know. But back then, 30 was like, oh shit. So, Yeah. So I just, I found interest in other areas.
So when you produced the film with Cat Williams, was it a win-win or was there some failure in there?
Oh shit! It's been failure in everything that I've done. Yeah, like I was telling the fellas earlier, I fail gracefully. I fail all the time. I fail a lot.
You fell gracefully?
I fail a lot.
I fail like a victim, then I fail like a monster, then I like internalize.
No,
I go through
man.
all the phases of grief when I fail.
Oh really? Oh man, you gotta see you gotta
I go through
embrace
all
that
the
shit.
and then
You
I'd be
gotta embrace
like,
that shit.
yeah,
That's the process. That just lets you know you're trying, right? So, the failure was lack of information because I used my own money. That was the failure to begin with because I shouldn't have done it. But I had it. I ended up getting my money back. What's funny to that story is Cat Williams was a friend of mine, and Lawrence Hilton Jacobs was too. And so I starred in the movie as well. And I ended up getting distribution for the movie. I flew all the way over to the Cannes Film Festival to goddamn get distribution with a company that was around the corner from my house in Encino, which was the stupidest thing, right? So that was failure number 2. So I ended up getting my money back, but they made way more than that. I didn't understand the business. I could just do it. You know what I mean? So what I would have done differently is why I say it's a failure is I would have used my money to attract other money. And then once I reached that target goal, pull my shit out. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would have did. But again, I had to do it. I had to fuck it up to learn.
Were you one of the first people to invest in Cat?
No, he was already Cat Williams at that point.
Oh.
Yeah, he was Cat.
He was Cat.
He was Cat, yeah. Yeah, he was a partner. He was my partner.
Let me tell you something. I love me some Cat Williams. If Cat Williams ever blesses this show, boy, it'll be a very happy day for me. I promise you.
Me and Cat have had we've had a strained relationship, but he's one of the most talented comedians, one of the most intelligent, one of the most well-read and insightful motherfuckers I've ever talked to.
Yeah. I think he's very well-rounded.
He is.
And his delivery and his perception. I love comedians because they have like this nice artistic perception and they have to creatively deliver it where
for sure.
They don't get Will Smith slapped.
I don't give this I don't give this accolade out loosely, but I would say Cat is probably borderline genius. Like he's super smart. Even off of the stage, he's super smart.
I just wonder, like, is he sweet behind the scenes or is he like a pimp asshole type?
All of that. He's all of that. Yeah, that's the thing about comedy. Richard Pryor. There was tragedy. There was trauma. There was all of that with Richard Pryor, which is what made him great. Same thing with Cat. Cat is an asshole. He's the sweetest guy on earth. He's the meanest guy on earth. He's all of that. Depending on what Cat you get at what moment. Now I haven't been around him in some years, so I'm speaking to when I was around him because we all evolve and grow. But he's the dude that could be arrogant, be an asshole, just click out and just do some dumb shit. But he'd be the same guy that take jewelry off his neck and give it to strangers. He's the same guy who give cars away if somebody needs transportation. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's the same guy who his son. He has one son, Micah. His siblings. Micah's siblings were, the mother was going through some drug shit. He went and adopted the siblings that aren't even his kids.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's the same guy that would do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's all of us though. All of us have different sides and, and places that we could work on.
So what got you into podcasting?
Shoot. Well, me and Master P had a show called Doing the Most on Playboy Radio about 5 years ago. That was my first introduction to this space. And it was Jay Tweezy, shout out to Jay Tweezy, who he kind of said, you know what, Court, you good at this. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. But I didn't think shit of it, So that time came and went. From that, I had a little show at Dash Radio with up there at DJ Ski up there on
DJ Ski, his name.
Cahuenga.
Is DJ Ski still in LA?
I think so. I don't know.
I think the Dash
building's still there, but I don't know if he's still there. So I had a little show up there. And then I put it down for a few years. But during the quarantine, I've always been a big fan of Vlad, of Gangster Chronicles. I'm watching Drink Champs. I'm sitting still, so I felt like I had something to offer in this space. And and it's crazy because Vlad gets a lot of not a lot, but he gets backlash. I fuck with Vlad. Like,
have you ever interviewed him?
I haven't. I haven't.
I think he's on my bucket list.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bucket list, I mean, I was blessed enough when I did start. I started with I started with Ice-T. I started with Jay Prince. They were two.
Yeah.
But most of the people I've had on my show, I know personally. 99.9% of them. But
or they're like 6 degrees from separation. Because I'll be like, homie, you're friends with such and such. You need to pick up the phone.
All these
really?
People I just call.
Oh, really?
I mean? Yeah. Cause I've been around for a long time.
See, I'll make phone calls, but then I'll also do you're friends with such and such?
Oh, yeah.
You need to connect it. Yeah.
I had to do that, like, as of recently, I've been doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Because, again, you start running out of friends and
yep,
shit, right?
That's how it is.
But, and it's funny. One thing, I never try to meet the people that you looked up to and some of your favorite artists.
Why?
Because it just don't work out. You don't be liking them. When you get
really?
to know them, you don't be liking them.
Please, God, don't let that be for Jay-Z or Drake. Please, don't do it.
Yeah, that shit, like, I mean...
I feel like Jay-Z can't let you down. He's an evolutionary process.
You never know.
Maybe Kanye right now, because Kanye's,
You never know. You never
really?
know. I mean, because, Ice-T was someone, I have Ice-T paintings in my house of the album cover. Yeah, big 5x5 of the album cover, Power. So Ice-T was always someone that, I grew up, that was the first gangster rap record I ever heard, but Ice-T, super cool, super 100. Like, I can hit him for advice, whatever. Jay Prince, same way, which obviously there's already a relationship there, No Limit and Rap a Lot. And, even with Jay Prince being under fire, here recently, unfairly, I might add, but, I kind of took some heat with that as well. But, but my bucket list would be Magic Johnson and Mike Tyson.
Oh, Mike Tyson would be good.
Mike Tyson is one of my favorite people.
Yeah. Have you met him in person?
Nope.
I love me a guy that can evolve. Like especially when you can see the flower. Now, do I want to be patient and like stand next to him during his monster phase? Absolutely not.
I would fight Mike Tyson. I would fight Mike Tyson. I would, because it would be an honor to get knocked out by Mike Tyson.
Let me tell you something. My husband is a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
And so one day he comes home, he comes over, he puts his phone down, he's like, listen to my set tonight. I'm like, okay, nothing new, maybe he has a new joke in there or whatever. He plays the set. All of a sudden I hear, all right, Mike, you want to fight? And all of a sudden I hear, oh, he's got a gun. You hear the room, and I'm listening.
Yeah,
he was on stage, and some guy pulls out a gun on Mike. That was my husband on stage.
The clip. Wow.
And all I could think was like, I mean, from a woman's perspective, it's like, oh my God, there was a small chance that this could have been the last time. But then all I kept thinking, and I didn't see the clip, was, you didn't get off the stage? That would be the time to run, duck, hide. And I'm from New York. It's like, yo, there's nothing to be discussed. That's it, I'm out. And he was on stage performing.
Yeah,
and then Mike was like, keep performing,
I remember that.
And Mike was really sweet. But yeah, I remember hearing the clip at night and being traumatized, oh man, comics, what club was that? Yeah, we don't do that club. But it's funny when you watch a clip, he didn't get off stage, and I was like, this motherfucker.
I vaguely remember. I remember Mike hugging the dude.
He hugged the dude, yeah. But I had seen I heard the audio, because comics record their sets. So I didn't know what I was about to listen to. I'm listening for jokes and all, and then you hear Mike's voice, and I just was like, what? And then I saw the clips on TMZ the next day, and I was like, fool, you didn't get off the stage? We have a brand new baby fresh out the box. We need you.
What was his reaction? Did he say something?
He's from Detroit, which says enough. He was just
he was with it.
He was totally with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was totally with it, and I'm like, yo, I get it. When I go to Detroit, Detroit produces some of the most amazing entrepreneurs.
For sure.
But it's Detroit is an island of, for me, it's a very conflicting because it's like, houses and
Mm-hmm.
neighbors that are like, the houses are like torn down, half torn.
Yeah.
I don't even understand why the city doesn't. If this was LA,
Yeah.
they would have mowed all those houses down.
That's
Like,
the Midwest, though.
you know,
Yeah, it's the same way in Kansas City. It's the
yeah,
Midwest. That's how it is.
I don't
Cleveland, all of
understand.
that.
You,
Yeah.
how do you make it out of those environments? Like, you really have to think big.
Yeah, you do. A lot of it starts with, sometime leaving the environment, but it's really all that shit is mental. It's perspective. Like man, listen, my neighborhood that I come from, right? I come from a neighborhood called the Faux Block, 64130. I lost my first friend when I was 13. He was shot in front of me, right? Accidentally, but he died.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I came up with some super talented guys, better looking than me, smarter than me, had, all of us have our gifts, right? But when you look at all the people I came up with and you say, well, damn, why is he the one that was able to transcend? It was all just mental. That's it. Nothing set me apart, but just the way I thought, the way I looked at things, perspective. So all that shit is mental. You know what I mean? Like, whether you think you can do something or whether you think you can't, either way you're right. It's just, how you
either
look
way
at the
you're
shit.
right. That's interesting.
Yeah, either way you're right. So it's all about perspective. That's all this life shit is.
So what can you tell us about Holding Court?
Holding Court podcast. Man, so again, Black excellence and nigga shit. It's the same platform where I could have someone like a Chico Brown come in, who's from Compton, from Corner Pocket Crip, and he was Freeway Ricky Ross's co-defendant. Actually, when Ricky Ross got caught up with Blandone in the deal for the 100 bricks, those were Chico's bricks.
Okay.
Yeah, Rick was just Freeway Rick was just middleman in that. But so I like to document the journey, people's journey, because Chico saying that, right?
Yeah.
But now he works in Compton. He employs Pyrus and Crips, works in the community where they rehab homes. He gives them jobs. Him and Master P just did they do a Christmas thing, a Thanksgiving thing in Compton every year. So I can have someone like a Chico Brown and then turn around and have somebody like a Michael Jai White, who's a friend of mine, martial artist, you know what I mean, movie star, somebody like an Ice-T, so I just like documenting the journey. I even had Crip Mac on there, so I have influencers and all of that, you know what I mean? So I grew up on our Arsenio Hall show, and so I kind of did this blend of talk show kind of, and if you see my set, it's kind of like that. With some influence from Gangster Chronicles, influence from Vlad, and influence from No Jumper, from Adam, and some other stuff mixed with me. So
I love your interview style.
Thank you.
Like you really, I always say like there's your interviewer that like kind of determines their questions. I'm not that type.
I don't do that.
I don't do that.
Never
I'm like,
done it. Never done
I want to be fully invested in everything you have to say.
Never done it.
And I'm really just trying to pull everything out of you. But similar to like Norm from Gangster Chronicles, I think all of us, or us three, our podcast really enjoyed the journey of people.
For sure. For sure. And like I just recently did Matt Barnes, and after we got done, Matt was like, wow. He was like, man, he said, you asked me some shit that nobody asked me. Yeah. Like, even with him being biracial.
I love that question, by the way. I was shocked. Right. I was like, I love that you asked that question. I think I'd love that you asked that question for a multitude of reasons. And it's not just because I'm biracial, but I'm learning, and I didn't learn till, and I tell people this all the time, Trevor Noah had a book called Born a Crime. And my whole life being born biracial, I was always torn, exactly how Matt described it. You're not black enough, to white people, you just a nigga. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then you're growing up in this really toxic environment, trying to figure out what side to choose. And it wasn't until Trevor Noah put out the book Born a Crime. Wow. I don't know if you read that book.
I'm aware of it, though.
Amazing. At least for a mixed person, I did not think I had an identity until I read that book. And I said, oh, shit. Mixed people, we're a race. We're like, we have our own
so you're your own
problems. And before it's like, black people be like, oh, you don't really understand because, you're not really black. Or you wouldn't understand. But it's like.
You got it too.
But we have it. Yeah. We get my little brother, who's also a comic, he had said it one time. It's like, I think he had said this once. It's crazy because even with the white side, for us, like dealing with the racism or the non-equality on the white side of our family, it's like you're sitting at the table with someone that you love or you're supposed to love and they love you, but you're not exactly equal.
Right.
And you're like breaking bread with this person. And you know, as a black person, you know, you don't want to be the nigga that they think you are.
Exactly.
So you're like, I'm going to try and go above and beyond.
Yeah.
But you're sitting at the table with the enemy, you know, like, it kind of sucks, but it's true. Like someone said to me, they're like, you have family here. You know, I mean, just because they're racist, it's like, yeah, but just think about that. Like, you know, they're
racist.
like, you know, like, yeah, I mean, they may be a little racist, but like, you know, and it's the truth though. Like, and you know, I was born in the 80s, similar, like when Barnes was talking, I think he was saying like, you know, now we grow up in a different era where
it's a melting pot.
It's a little bit more of a melting pot, but like, you got to think about like his grandparents, my grandparents that grew up in a different era that are like, so they're mixed. Like, how do they identify?
Even
and
your
like,
mom and dad having to navigate that shit.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't cool.
It wasn't cool. Let me tell you, the first time I heard the word nigger,
right,
was I remember my parents bought a house in upstate New York, and like my mom's poodle ran on this white person's yard, and they like football kicked the poodle and was like, yeah, like, you know, leave nigger or something. And I was like, what?
Shit.
And they were like cold to her. And my mom's approach was like, just keep being nice and eventually they'll realize like, you know, just a black person and, you know, whatever. And I think if you go to that same neighborhood, those people that were calling her nigger, ironically, are like really good friends with her.
Wow.
But it took years of her like knocking on their door every year, giving Christmas presents and, you know, the kids not being allowed to play with us. And my mom would always be like, be nice to them because the kids are just trained to hate you, but they don't really know. You know, you could unteach them.
That's right.
But that's a lot to go through just to like.
You know, it's unfortunate you were on the receiving end of that. But but that's what I tell people, man. If you think about it, right, what you're saying that those people coming around, right? You know, social media is to me, I hate it because, you know, social media, everybody's looking for that aha moment, that I got you moment. Like they don't want to let anyone grow. Right. So, you know, everybody has this lynch mob mentality. If you did it, if you like, even with the Jerry Jones thing, not absolving him of anything. But I mean, that shit years ago. I know plenty of people. I've done shit and said shit that I'm not in that same space now. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, we shouldn't have to have these disreputable moments where it's like, fuck, you can't even walk it back. You can't even learn.
Is that cancel culture or is that social media?
Both. That shit go hand in hand because, you know, cancel culture is fueled and, you know, and that shit is supported with social media and popular opinion, you know. And I think that, you know, even with Will Smith, okay, he fucked up. But I mean, it's like, damn, dude been around 30 years, squeaky clean. He fuck up one time, now just throw him away. It's like, God damn, what more do you know?
I 100% agree.
Because we're all flawed. None of us are infallible. Like, like me and you, we're in the media space. We may fucking misspeak sometimes.
I agree, but I think media, and that was going to be my next question, and I talk about it with my crew all the time, is, you know, I'm kind of irritated about what's going on with Kanye West because I think at some point we have to choose a moral obligation in our thoughts and in our moves. And as a media company, I'm like, yo, Kanye West, if I got an opportunity to interview Kanye West right now, would I take it? Hell yes, it's Kanye West.
Right.
But knowing that he's in the middle of an episode, and we all know, like, you know, we love to claim mental health is like super important. But he's clearly in the middle of an episode. He just went through a divorce. He's literally in the middle of a trauma war zone, right? What I don't like about the way they're treating Kanye is that in the middle of an episode, he's saying statements, which they're definitely, I get some of his perspective in it. You know, what he's trying to say.
Yes.
And I get what the media is trying to portray, what he's trying to say. But the thing that really bothers me is that the taking away of stuff from him is like, okay, Kanye said this, so we're gonna take away this, we're gonna cancel this. He's in the middle of an episode, a mental, psychotic episode. You put a mic in front of him, you air it, then you tear it apart, and then you punish him for it.
It's
And
exploitation.
at what point do you actually do this? Do you feel like you have a moral compass when it comes to the media that you put out? Do you think that if Kanye was on your show and he said some of the statements, would you have released it for a click, or would you have pulled it?
That's the one thing about my platform is integrity. Yeah, I've saved some of my other guests from shit that they don't even know.
Yeah, I'm that type too.
Because sometimes they get on there and conversation get good, and I'll go and I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna take that shit out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna do you a favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I'm not, because we don't have to do it. Now, I'm for letting people speak their truth and letting people, be, represent themselves how they want to. But if I feel like it's something that's going to overtly offend someone or overtly hurt them, I don't want to share in that. So I do it now. So yes, if Kanye came on the
just
show,
so you know, I do the same. I 100%. I've been in the business for a long time with my other company. I'm the same way. If anything, I'll call like a manager or someone and say, I may be concerned. You may want to talk to them. Definitely not releasing. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why we have to, we got to deal with each other with grace and mercy, man. That's what I hate about social media, because everybody wants to hold somebody to a standard that they can't even hold themselves to. Everybody wants to hold everybody to some perfection. Like, everybody talking, like even these people pulling shit from Kanye, whatever, and this cancel culture, the people doing the canceling, dig into their shit and see what they got going on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
The people
he who has not sinned cast the first stone. So that's what I don't like about. So I don't take and this is another thing, and you probably can agree with me on this. It's like, we can debate the issue, but people get away from debating the issue and start attacking the person. We're in such a vitriolic, space where, it's always these pejorative comments, and it's always disrespecting shit. And you don't even got to do that, right?
No.
Like, we can have, an intellectual conversation. So if Kanye came on my shit, I would ask him the shit that real niggas want to ask him, and that everyday people want to ask him. And if he says some goofy shit, I would, in love, challenge him,
But that's the thing. I don't think Kanye ever really says anything goofy.
No, he says a lot of goofy shit.
No, and I'll tell you why I say that.
He just said some goofy shit today. He
What
just
did
said
he
he's
say?
autistic. He said he's not bipolar. He might be slightly autistic.
Okay. Well, again, psychotic
shit.
Episode. That I don't even count that. But if I look at, I remember, I want to say, I forgot which album it was. It may have been the Heartbreak. Was it the Heartbreak? What album?
I'm not a big Kanye fan, so I don't know.
I realized a long time ago that Kanye was borderline genius. I was at a listening party of his, and I said, "Oh,
really, genius?"
Yes,
okay.
yes. And but I was just like, the way his information flows in and flows out may be at a higher speed. That's what
I go with you on that.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But most of his points, I think, if you weren't to tear it apart and you just listen to it entirely and you pulled it from a just no judgment zone, there's a lot that can be.
I can't give him genius because he's not saying. I get it. Sometimes when he's trying to make points and say shit, some of the shit he's saying is valid, right? But he ain't saying no prophetic shit that ain't nobody else said. He's not saying anything that's that hasn't been said or is not obvious.
So to be a genius to you, you'd have to say some outstanding over the top stuff.
Yeah, you got to say some shit that we don't know already, or say some shit that the average layman motherfucker can be like, because think about it. If he's such a genius, we're only paying attention to him because of the antics.
Okay, but
he been saying this shit forever. Think about it. He's been Kanye, right?
He's always been Kanye.
But we didn't pay attention to him until, his music, right? Yes, he's a great musician and producer. But when he said George Bush don't care about black people, so it's the antics, right? Nobody has ever quoted something he said. They only quote the antics.
I'm just curious.
What has he said that's been so?
Who's a genius to you?
A genius. As I spoke before, I loosely I would say I said Cat, which hell at a time you could put him and Kanye in the same boat. at a time.
So Cat Williams would be considered a genius.
And I would say this maybe because I know Cat, knew him personally. Genius,
maybe genius is a
that's a strong
word.
I
think it's a strong title.
Word.
Maybe
that's a strong.
We'll take back the genius.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take back the genius from Kanye.
Thank you, because he's definitely not a genius.
But you may have to take back the genius from Cat too.
Okay, I can. I did say genius adjacent.
Genius adjacent. Yeah, I think Jay-Z is a genius. But you know what? I do think genius is a very grand title, so I'm gonna take that from him too.
You think Jay-Z is a genius? Why?
Because similar to a comedian, he takes things in. He's well read. He knows how to communicate in all rooms. He understands chess versus checkers. He plays at a different level, and he's evolved so much over time.
He definitely has evolved. Or is it that he's genius enough to put experts around him?
I am a firm believer. I'm a firm believer in being the smallest fish in my little pond. I like having better and stronger people around me.
And that's genius in itself.
I think Kanye is suffering from being the big fish in his pond.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you.
He needs to take all them little baby fish and kick them out of his little pond.
There's no checks and balances
There's
in
no
his
checks
world.
and balances in his world.
No.
And it's sad.
Yeah. Listen, I pray for Kanye. I think I don't think that there's an ounce of hate in Kanye's heart.
I don't think so.
I don't think that he's not a hateful person. He's not, if anything, people need to either just ignore him or get him help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about the social media too, because they exploit him. You putting a loudspeaker to his outbursts. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't the media sites,
we have to also say that he's in the middle of a mental episode.
But
right
if that's the case, right?
Yeah, stop
so that
putting
means
a mic in
that
front of him.
stop. But not only stop putting a mic, but the blog sites, like, stop picking this shit up.
Yeah.
Stop making it viral. Stop giving it air. Because I guarantee, if Kanye got no attention, he would probably shut up. You know what I mean? If he knew that if I say something, no matter what I say, it's going to be on TMZ, it's going to be on every blog site, that's power. That's power. He ain't that far gone. He got that,
he's
right?
Not far gone.
So again, you know what I mean? But the blog sites, everybody, like, that's where the integrity comes in, because I don't traffic in that. Like, even like we were talking about with Steele, even with the controversial shit, like the Clubhouse shit and all that type of shit, like, it's a place for it, I guess, but I feel like you don't have to do that. You ain't really got to play dirty in this game, for real. If you really have a skill set and you create some compelling content, some shit that resonates, you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, it ain't got to be all stiff and serious.
Yeah,
Of course. I'm not above being a cheerleader for foolishness. You know what I'm saying? So, I do some nigga shit too and say some nigga shit, but I ain't trying to tear nobody down or exploit nobody in that. And if I am tearing you down, it's in love. I allow you to tear me down, reciprocate.
Like I tell everybody around me, the day you throw a stone at my glass house, just know.
Yeah.
I may not have noticed you were in a glass house before, but now it's game on. Like, I throw them back fast. I'm like a little rock gun. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the funny thing you say that. I always say I don't throw any stones. Listen, I don't even sneeze or breathe hard in my house, because the glass in my shit is very thinly veiled glass. So if I breathe too hard, that shit is shattered. So I definitely ain't throwing no fucking rocks.
Oh, if you throw one stone at me, I promise you, I may not have noticed you were in a glass house, but I assure you, before that stone hits my glass, I realize you're in a glass house, and I'm firing at all cylinders. Yeah,
the culture is, man, we need more love, more grace. And again, I'm not no We Are the World type motherfucker, but I'm just saying we need more balance, man. Like, you know what I mean? That's what my podcast, that's what I try to bring to the game. It's just balance. Like, P calls me the hip hop Oprah. You know what I mean? He be like, man, you like the hood Oprah. Because, I done had real killers, like real street niggas come to I done had a couple niggas cry on my show, so, which to me is an honor, because they felt so comfortable and so vulnerable. Hell, I even started crying one time. Me and Watts homie Quan shared a moment talking about our deceased parents. So I like to be able to, represent the culture in a different way. I like to, what I say, like represent the evolved nigga, you know what I'm saying? And have that balance.
I like that. I think the culture needs it. I think society needs it. I think think it's needed.
Definitely. And I think having real conversations and not all the bullshit and the gloss and, and just, even if we disagree, it's just really just learning from each other, So I'm all about love, man. I ain't, we got enough of the hate and the hating and the hate and all the bullshit, so that's what my podcast represents.
I love it. I thank you for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me. You didn't took your hair down shit?
My hair was always down.
You didn't got all sultry and shit?
I actually keep my hair in braids. It's my favorite thing to do. But braids be costing a lot of money nowadays. And you try finding a braider.
You a baller.
Finding a braider is, try and get on a braider
you got that
schedule.
good shit. That ain't, you got all that good shit. That ain't nothing.
The good fro?
Yeah, the good.
The curly hair fro.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to finish this chicken sandwich because I'm starving. But where can our fans and listeners find you out on socials?
You can follow me on IG at I Am Big Court. Follow Holding Court Podcast on IG, Facebook, Big Court, and subscribe, like, and comment to my podcast on YouTube, Holding Court Podcast, and also I'm on Tubi TV as well.
Tubi, I want to join you on Tubi.
I got you.
Oh yes, let's do it. All right, peace out, y'all.